Roots. The roots of seed plants have three major functions: anchoring the plant to the soil, absorbing water and minerals and transporting them upwards, and storing the products of photosynthesis. Some roots are modified to absorb moisture and exchange gases. Most roots are underground. Some plants, however, also have adventitious roots, which emerge above the ground from the shoot. Types of root systems. Root systems are mainly of two types. Figure 1. Dicots have a taproot system, while monocots have a fibrous root system. A taproot system has a main root that grows down vertically, and from which many smaller lateral roots arise. Dandelions are a good example. Their taproots usually break off when trying to pull these weeds, and they can regrow another shoot from the remaining root. A taproot system penetrates deep into the soil. In contrast, a fibrous root system is located closer to the soil surface and forms a dense network of roots that also helps prevent soil erosion. Lawn grasses are a good example, as are wheat, rice, and corn. Some plants have a combination of taproots and fibrous roots. Plants that grow in dry areas often have deep root systems, whereas plants growing in areas with abundant water are likely to have shallower root systems. Root growth and anatomy. Root growth begins with seed germination. When the plant embryo emerges from the seed, the radicle of the embryo forms the root system. The tip of the root is protected by the root cap, a structure exclusive to roots and unlike any other plant structure. The root cap is continuously replaced because it gets damaged easily as the root pushes through soil. The root tip can be divided into three zones: a zone of cell division, a zone of elongation, and a zone of maturation and differentiation. Figure 2. The zone of cell division is closest to the root tip. It is made up of the actively dividing cells of the root meristem. The zone of elongation is where the newly formed cells increase in length, thereby lengthening the root. Beginning at the first root hair is the zone of cell maturation, where the root cells begin to differentiate into special cell types. All three zones are in the first centimeter or so of the root tip. The root has an outer layer of cells called the epidermis, which surrounds areas of ground tissue and vascular tissue. The epidermis provides protection and helps in absorption. Root hairs, which are extensions of root epidermal cells, increase the surface area of the root, greatly contributing to the absorption of water and minerals. Inside the root, the ground tissue forms two regions: the cortex and the pith. Figure 3. Compared to stems, roots have lots of cortex and little pith. Both regions include cells that store photosynthetic products. The cortex is between the epidermis and the vascular tissue, whereas the pith lies between the vascular tissue and the center of the root. The vascular tissue in the root is arranged in the inner portion of the root, which is called the stele. Figure 4. A layer of cells known as the endodermis separates the stele from the ground tissue in the outer portion of the root. The endodermis is exclusive to roots and serves as a checkpoint for materials entering the root's vascular system. A waxy substance called suberin is present on the walls of the endodermal cells. This waxy region, known as the Casparian strip, forces water and solutes to cross the plasma membranes of endodermal cells instead of slipping between the cells. This ensures that only materials required by the root pass through the endodermis, while toxic substances and pathogens are generally excluded. The outermost cell layer of the root's vascular tissue is the pericycle, an area that can give rise to lateral roots. In dicot roots, the xylem and phloem of the stele are arranged alternately in an X shape, whereas in monocot roots, the vascular tissue is arranged in a ring around the pith. Root modifications. Root structures may be modified for specific purposes. For example, Some roots are bulbous and store starch. Aerial roots and prop roots are two forms of above-ground roots that provide additional support to anchor the plant. Taproots, such as carrots, turnips, and beets, are examples of roots that are modified for food storage. Figure 5. Epiphytic roots enable a plant to grow on another plant. For example, the epiphytic roots of orchids develop a spongy tissue to absorb moisture. The banyan tree, Ficus sp., begins as an epiphyte, germinating in the branches of a host tree. Aerial roots develop from the branches and eventually reach the ground, providing additional support. Figure 6. In screwpine, Pandanus sp., a palm-like tree that grows in sandy tropical soils, above-ground prop roots develop from the nodes to provide additional support. Section summary. Roots help to anchor a plant, absorb water and minerals, and serve as storage sites for food. Taproots and fibrous roots are the two main types of root systems in a taproot system. A main root grows vertically downward with a few lateral roots. Fibrous root systems arise at the base of the stem, where a cluster of roots forms a dense network that is shallower than a taproot. The growing root tip is protected by a root cap. The root tip has three main zones. A zone of cell division. Cells are actively dividing. A zone of elongation. Cells increase in length. And a zone of maturation. Cells differentiate to form different kinds of cells. Root vascular tissue conducts water, minerals, and sugars. In some habitats, the roots of certain plants may be modified to form aerial roots or epiphytic roots. Thank you for watching BookTube channel. Make sure to smash the like and subscribe buttons to receive notifications about new contents.